His secondary pitches, they've thrown many more of those than fastballs tonight. It makes sense, they're so good.
He's been the 3-2, swing and a miss. Off speed and away. Strikeout number 8.
We've spent a lot of summers right here on this porch.
Jordan Zimmerman is cruised.
Often listening to a Tigers game.
Never once did they imagine
Watching the fireflies at night.
Their piece of paradise
Until the sun went down.
might harbor danger.
It is ironic. We sat here last year thinking, it's so beautiful out here. Mosquitoes never bother us. But apparently, there was at least one.
Al Walczak was a healthy, active, guitar-playing retiree. He spent his career in international studies traveling the world, but not last summer. The virus-carrying mosquito that nearly killed the 67-year-old struck right here in Grand Rapids, likely in Walczak's own front yard on the city's west side.
It was scary.
Walczak himself only remembers blurry bits and pieces of what started with headaches and dizziness.
And I remember telling Joy, you know, I don't know what's happening. You know, something weird is happening to me, but I don't know what it is. And
after a week of flu-like symptoms, temperature spikes and drops, repeated doctor and ER visits.
It just felt like I was losing things. You know, I was losing strength, losing balance, losing coordination.
In the middle of a late August night,
He couldn't sit up. He couldn't raise himself on his elbows. He couldn't lift his head off the pillow.
what followed were 2 weeks in ICU, 140 days in hospitals, a ventilator, a feeding tube.
And he couldn't move. He was very still. I remember watching his toes because he could still wiggle his toes. And it was very faint wiggle. But he could wiggle them, you know, and then he stopped being able to do that.
For Walter Catton, this is the new normal. The music from his daughter's cello has never sounded sweeter.
Where's your football?
The laughter of his 6 children makes his spirit soar.
All the things you took for granted because they were always there are, I think, more celebrated today than they were.
Even the pain he feels with each step he takes is tolerable.
That's my new normal.
His new normal isn't perfect, but it's better than the alternative. On May 3, 2009,
I went for a bike ride on a Sunday. I came home 40 days later.
2.5 miles from his Holland home, Walter was run over by an SUV.
A bicyclist in critical condition after being hit by an SUV.
He nearly died that night. His broken body was a mess of mangled extremities.
The potential for loss of an extremity was quite high. And in fact, the discussion that I had with his wife that night was that there was a good chance that we weren't going to be able to save his right leg.
Dr. James Ringler and his trauma team at Spectrum Health were instrumental in helping save Walter's life and leg. But the injuries were so severe that rehab would be long and excruciatingly painful.
There were times that I even sat there and thought, it's easier for him to die and go be with the Lord than it is for him to stay on this earth.
It was another middle school soccer game. No headlines, no highlights.
All right, way to go, guys!
Just kids from 2 local schools competing in their final game of the season. And who won and who lost has never mattered less. Charlie DeVries is a 5th grader at Grand Rapids Christian Middle School. He's also a member of the soccer team.
We had some leaders on the team who, from the very first practice, made sure Charlie was a part of everything.
Why do you guys want him to be part of your team?
Because he's our friend and we like him. He's a normal person. He's just like us.
Go, Charlie, go, Charlie, go!
Not exactly like his teammates. Charlie was born with Down syndrome. Some might label him special needs, which, if you think about it, makes him just like everybody else.
I have needs, you have needs, we all have needs. Most of us don't see each other's needs.
What you see in Charlie is an ever-present smile, put there by classmates and teammates who felt the need to include him in their daily lives. Will Heemstra and Sam Gensink are 2 of his best friends. Each has a secret handshake with Charlie.
Show me better. Okay. Come on, faster, 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 faster.
What you'll also see is that nothing gets this team more excited than seeing Charlie do this. On October 9, with his mother Karen rolling on her cell phone, Charlie scored a goal against the other Grand Rapids Christian Middle School team.
Dating back to 15th century Europe, the hammer throw calls for a combination of power.
You gotta go forward in the ring, you can't go around.
Precision.
You gotta be patient with the hammer.
And albeit in a mere 2-meter ring, speed.
Everything really has to line up in order to make it go.
116 years after its Olympic debut in Paris in 1900, the hammer throw has suddenly given Darian Thornton an unexpected chance to represent the U.S. in Rio.
It's a blessing. I mean, to have the opportunity to compete against guys that I've looked up to coming out of high school and even early years in college, it's a blessing to be on the same stage as them.
Despite his collegiate success at Grand Valley State, where he holds the all-time school record throw, was a 9-time All-American and a Division II national champion.
Grand Valley's meant everything, probably to me. It's a wonderful environment. There's everybody here wants to help you, whether it's the athletics or the academic side of things. So just to be in an environment of people that just care about you just helps everybody want to succeed more.
Thornton really wasn't on the Olympic radar and had never reached the Olympic standard of 72 meters until the end of his sensational senior season.
And we had a last chance meet, and I threw 70. It was the first time I broke 70 meters, and I was like, wow, you know, maybe I do have a shot at going on to the next level.
In its most basic form, football is tough.
Go! Hey!
It's in your face. Exhausting.
Let's go!
Hit or be hit. The lights on Friday night shine down on a physical game.
Start down!
I've always tried to be tough, and that's how I was raised, to be a tough kid, and don't come out unless something's really wrong with you.
After especially hard hit on the first day of practice 2 years ago, senior linebacker Jack Bates found that sometimes toughness isn't staying in the game, but taking yourself out.
Feeling drowsy, nauseous, the headaches, in kind of a dark, gloomy stage in my life.
And I think Jack went in like a bull and hit the top of his head and compressed a portion in his neck. Missed the whole season.
Wins it for Grand Rapids Christian!
A state championship season for the Christian Eagles, sidelined by concussion.
Helmet-to-helmet contact is inevitable in football, but unlike the pros, where sometimes there's more doctors than athletes on the sidelines, in high school, a helmet is your best friend. New research says that some helmets are actually safer than others. So, how safe are your children's helmets?
My confidence was very low.
My own family, my own blood, however, turned against me.
Some have been told that they'll never amount to anything.
Very lost.
At first I was scared. I was like, it's been 9 years that I was out of school.
Getting a lot of self-doubt and low self-worth.
They don't know what they're gonna do. They don't think that they have the potential.
I just stopped believing in myself.
The youth are lost. Some of these youth are lost.
Their environments that they've grown up with or grown up in and still kind of find themselves in are rough and they're real.
I didn't really finish high school. I dropped out very young, and I pretty much just dedicated myself to my family.
During high school, I didn't have enough courage to graduate. There are times I didn't want to go to school because I'm like, I don't want to go to school because I know how far behind I am. And it's almost embarrassing. Like, I felt ashamed just walking into the classroom.
I thought I was gonna finish high school, but I ended up getting pregnant at an early age. So I had to stop going there and go to a school that was for pregnant girls. And I really didn't fit in, so I just dropped out and stopped going.
Nobody knows in some of the conversations that I have with these kids because I can relate to them. Personally, I can relate to them.
I dropped out of school because of family problems, and my mom just kind of walked out on my dad, and it was 5 of us with kids, and I was the oldest. I got married very young, and I had my son.
There wasn't time for her to have belief in herself. She was raising 5 children and caring for her husband and her family, her father and her stepmother, and helping to raise her siblings still. So there wasn't really a moment of her day, really, I can't imagine anyways, that she had to say, what can I do for myself?
I kind of felt it was my responsibility as oldest to look out for my younger siblings. So I just dropped out of school and dedicated to my family, my husband and my son. And on top of that, I'm making sure my brothers and my sisters, you know, continued with the school.
And I was like, wow, and you're here? And I remember her saying, yeah, this has become a place that I can go for me and take this time for me.
Well, with my brothers and sisters, I felt like, sorry, I had to be strong for them, not show weakness, but like I felt my pain only and did not show it to them.
I can relate to some of the struggles that they come to when, you know, the girls, the Hispanics come to me and they say, Miss Judy, you know, my mom wouldn't let me do this and you and my dad's real strict. And I know what that is. I know what it is when they tell me that, you know, they got married at a young age, had kids at a young age. You know, I know that. I know that. I've seen it.
Here at North Camp, the ability to keep a fire stoked can be the difference between life and freezing to death. Here is what happens when a fire dies.
What the hell are you doing in my house? Well, there ain't no fire going. Quit, you guys get the f up.
The potbelly stove is life here at North Camp, especially during one of the coldest winters in years. Last night, it was the job of a man known as Popeye to keep the fire going at one particular shanty, the one occupied by Don. Don didn't do it because he was 2 doors down drinking vodka at Cookie's place.
Well, what the hell happened to my fire? I don't have the sleep. Oh, you fell off sleep, didn't you? I have a right to sleep once in a while. No.
So off went Popeye. Back to his shanty a few doors down. We still don't know if he had any heat last night. For Don, it meant spending the night a few doors down on Cookie's couch, where the potbelly stove made the shanty almost unbearably warm for a while.
You're looking at the best neighbors ever right here. And we all hooked up with each other.
It also meant watching movies of all things in a homeless shanty with Cookie and another neighbor, a guy named Denny.
Here's Scorpion King right here.
Unlike most of North Camp's residents, Cookie has a generator, bought, he said, with a small inheritance.
My neighbor's got a generator, I got a TV, and we hook it up.
But they know the gas in the generator won't last, so by 1 this morning, Cookie shut it down. Movie night was over, and the night in the shanty returned to normal.
Iraq, Turkey, Jordan. You know, this is a lot better than a lot of homeless people are doing, you know. We happen to be lucky to be able to get away with what we have here, you know. But we just pray to God that we can make it last.
Finally, by 4 this morning, Cookie's shanty was quiet. The fire starting to die down, cold settling in. Later, while we couldn't find Popeye, we did find Denny, who had slipped away to his own shanty, with blankets, a snowmobile suit, but no heat.
How was that last night?
Wasn't bad. You know, my breath kept me warm. I got 2 covers and one other cover over that too, so. Yeah. You know, I survived.
These guys expect that once spring returns, North Camp will fill up once again. In Walker, Ken Kolker, 24 Hour News 8.